Well, speaking of the cost of stuff, the federal carbon price is set to increase in just over a week on April 1st, despite several premiers asking Ottawa for a pause. For more on how this could affect businesses across the country, we're joined live by Dan Kelly, the president of the Canadian Federation of Small to Medium-Sized Business. Thanks for joining us here live on CP24 as always. You know, we spoke to you a lot. I'm sure you spoke a lot during the pandemic when small to medium-sized businesses were struggling. And now that's in the rearview mirror. They're struggling for just the cost of operating. Tell us about how the carbon tax at its current rate is affecting these businesses.
Yeah, this is a big expense for small businesses. Fuel costs in general, of which carbon taxes are a significant part. This has certainly put pressure on small, medium-sized firms, pressures on them to increase prices where they can. But for many, they're just not in a position to raise the price to consumers because they know that consumer demand will fall. So the business is, in fact, eating it, putting off necessary expenses themselves. So, for example, the amount of money the business owner can take out of his or her firm, perhaps some expansion or hiring that might have happened. These are some of the difficult choices businesses are making to try to accommodate this rising tax.
And so how does that have a trickle-down effect to everybody else? I don't know if you've felt this, but since the height of the pandemic is behind us, it seems like everything is just, this is just from anecdotally and also personal experience, everything just seems a little worse in terms of service and everything. Could you, am I delusional on this?
No, not at all. Look, the cost increases we saw coming out of the pandemic have been massive, and businesses themselves have been facing cost hikes on every single line of their budget, from wages to insurance to taxation. All of that needs to be at one point or another embedded in the prices that businesses charge. So this turns into a bit of a vicious circle. Businesses have to make cuts, either cuts to staffing levels, and that leads to a deterioration of service, or increases in prices, or both. Neither of which is a great option for consumers. Consumers then have smaller incomes to spend in these businesses. It has put immense pressure. The other thing I should add, though, is that while consumers do get the rebate from the carbon tax, businesses don't. In fact, the federal government has been setting aside almost 10% of carbon tax revenue to refund to businesses as part of their rebate, but they've not delivered it. It's been in place since 2019. Ottawa is sitting on $2.5 billion that is supposed to be refunding to small businesses to accommodate the carbon tax. And they haven't done that. So Ottawa is, in fact, very much to blame for the pressures that businesses find themselves in.
Right. And as you talk about this cycle, obviously, the government gives the money back to the Canadians with provinces and territories that are participating in this, that hopefully that they invest in greener technology. And you would think that these businesses would also want to do that, but they just don't have the funds.
You got it. And so every Ontario business, for example, is owed $2,600 in back rebates from the last 5 years. If Ottawa were to release this money, and we're hoping that in the federal budget in a couple of weeks they will, that could be really useful to businesses in just easing a bit of the pressure that they are facing. And in turn, we hope that would ease some of the pressure on consumers. But this 23% increase in the carbon tax on April the 1st is just going to make this worse for consumers, worse for businesses, lead to all sorts of new pressures for cost increases or service cuts. None of that is a good thing.
Right. And so for a lot of businesses, could that be the final straw?
Look, we're already seeing a huge tick up in business bankruptcies. Business bankruptcies are now, and failures are up 41% over the course of the last number of months. This is a huge increase. We saw that because the government, the deadline to repay pandemic loans, the CEBA loans, that came and went. The federal government didn't push that back. Now we've got not only the carbon tax increase, but the liquor tax increase. It is going to be smaller than was anticipated. We can't look that far back, though, and remember that on January 1st, we had a Canada Pension Plan premium increase, an employment insurance premium increase. Ottawa's taking more money out of the pockets of consumers and out of the pockets of businesses, and yet they're supposed to be sensitive to the fact that we're in this big affordability challenge right now. Something's got to give.
Right. And so quickly, I've seen the rundown of what you want the federal government to do. Obviously, it was asked by the leader of the opposition to try to to pause this increase in April 1st. So amongst that, what else are you asking the federal government for here?
Well, look, if Ottawa, we were asking them to pause the increase, expand the exemption to home heating, other home heating fuels like natural gas. We're also urging Ottawa to get the $2.5 billion that is in stranded money, $1.3 billion in Ontario alone, back to the small businesses that are owed it. That would be a big help. So those are some of the things that we're asking Ottawa to do to deal with the carbon tax hikes that's planned for April the 1st.
All right, Dan Kelly, the president of the Canadian Federation of Small Businesses, thanks so much. We do appreciate your time on a Sunday morning.
Anytime.
Of course.